As an entrepreneur running a seven-figure business and leading a team, you have to be on your A game. You have to have consistent focus. And one of the biggest tools that I have found that have been super effective for helping me boost my focus is fasting. So let me explain how fasting has benefited my focus. So first off, when it came to fasting, you have to start somewhere. And usually it's best to start with doing 16-8. And that's where I started, like doing 16 hours of fasting and eating in an 8-hour window frame. Now, that won't help necessarily boost your focus because there's not a ton of benefits when it comes to focus. But I started to increase the time frame of how long I would fast, and that would be to 20 hours, to 24 hours, and then eventually to 36-hour fast. Let me explain why 36-hour fasts are so beneficial, especially when it comes to improving your focus. And that is something that we need as entrepreneurs. I found that by doing 36-hour fasts were probably one of the most beneficial things for me, because I found by the time I finally was able to get my body adapted to 36-hour fast, I purposely would do these 36-hour fasts on my most busiest days. And the reason why I would do it on my most busiest days is because I didn't have to worry about food. So therefore I had more time to focus and hyper-focus on the projects that I was dealing with. And I didn't have to deal with any kind of gassing and bloating, being inflamed from maybe the foods that I ate the day prior, because I had more of an empty stomach. Now, why 36 hours? So 36 hours, when you get to about 20 to 24 hours, you reach a state of ketosis. Now, ketosis is what is breaking down your ketone bodies from your fat cells. And so when you're doing that, there's a couple beneficial things that ketosis is helping you with. One is that your brain is starting to have to switch its fuel source. So it typically get its fuel source from glucose, but when you're in a fasted state, it has to now start getting its fuel source from ketones. And so a lot of people will argue, it's like, well, doesn't the brain need glucose to have energy? Well, yes, that can be a great source, but I find that when it comes to being in a state of fasting and using ketones as a fuel source, I find that my focus is more consistent. Whereas on glucose, it gives me a good high. And if my blood sugar levels are unstable, then my focus can be up and down along with my energy. But if I'm in a fasted state, I'm more consistent, because that's what ketones kind of help, is kind of have more of consistency. And I would argue that it is a better fuel source for the brain when it comes to focus. Now, going back to the blood sugar situation, fasting is so powerful of tackling insulin resistance. And it's a big problem amongst entrepreneurs. When I see this with my patients, and even myself included, if I see my blood sugar levels kind of being a little off, I notice that my focus isn't the best. But when I get back into my fasting routine, where I'll do 36-hour fast at least once or twice a week, I get my blood sugar levels stable, and therefore my focus and energy becomes more stable. And there's plenty of research on this that shows that fasting is probably one of the best techniques to tackling insulin resistance and stabilizing your blood sugar levels. Another really powerful thing with fasting has to do with autophagy. If you're not familiar with what autophagy is, it just means self-eating. And so what it's doing, it is eating away the old dying cells in your body. So think about it as just having rust in your body, and it's getting rid of that to create room for cell generation to happen. And so autophagy, this is why 36 is such a magic number to me. It typically will start about 24 hours or longer. So that last 8 hours, you're at least in that autophagy state. And why autophagy is so important. So it might not directly be benefiting focus, but also what is very important to me, especially as an entrepreneur, is also longevity, because I know that I have to be on my A game. I have to be focusing on my health. And this is a great way to be doing this, because it's getting rid of all the old dying rust. And it's a great way for living a longer life, because it's ultimately detoxifying a lot of junk out of your system. Now, I understand this is a lot of information, so you should download my fasting treatment protocol for entrepreneurs, and that is in the description below. Now, like I was saying before, autophagy opens the door to allow stem cell regeneration. Because it's getting rid of all the old dying cells, like for example, old dying white blood cells, the body still has to regenerate that and replenish it with new cells. And that is where fasting has been shown that it does increase stem cell regeneration, not only for improving white blood cells, but all cells, brain cells, a lot of cells for your important organs that you do have, and so that you're recycling with new cells. But another really fascinating fasting style that I have found that's been really effective is doing a 48-hour fast. So there's been some new research that's come out that has shown that doing 48-hour fast not only does help increase your metabolism. A lot of people have thought that fasting in a long fasted state decreases your metabolism, but it does increase your metabolism, especially when you get past the 24 to 30 hour mark. They have seen that it does increase metabolism, and then it even increases it at a 40-hour mark. And it's all the way up to about 3 days is where it'll be the highest of where it'll increase your metabolism, and still be stable about 4 days of fasting, and then it'll start going down. So that's probably about the sweet spot, about 48 hours. So that's what I love about 48 hours. I've found that it has been increasing metabolism. But the other fascinating thing that has come out, especially when it comes to focus, is it has been shown to help reset the dopamine pathway. Now, dopamine is really important for not only for focus, but for motivation and drive. And this is so important when it comes to entrepreneurs to have this. And I have found every time I do a 48-hour fast, and I will typically do it at the beginning of the week. So Monday and Tuesday, when I do this, I am really focused throughout the week. And I am so productive because I do that. Anytime I don't do that, I find that I get consequences because I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do it this time. I feel more bloated, indigestion if I've eaten the wrong things. But even if I'm not eating the wrong things, I don't feel as focused throughout the week. Now, fasting is definitely one tool that I use to help with my focus and to have better energy as an entrepreneur. But there are so many other different non-medicated treatments you can use as an entrepreneur that I use with all my patients. And so you should watch this video next where I discuss about that. So watch this video next.